So I have posted this live stream for you, and now you can make me your
Okay,
co-host.
yeah, I need that. Right, this should be an interesting ride today. I think it's going to be a nice challenge for us. We just take it as it comes
Yep.
and see what we see with the new format that I've chosen as well. Could be an interesting one as well. So we just go with the flow. Turn that on and put that over there. Right. Will you press recording once people start to come in, or should I press it?
Yes, I will do that
You'll
for
be
you.
busy. um, there are only like two names I recognize. So mm, that I recognize as having been in my classes before.
It's gonna be interesting.
Because you also see names all the time, so you also know names.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Let's find out. Right. Welcome, Bill. Hi. Nice to have you in class.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well. Where are you from?
Pittsburgh.
From Pittsburgh. And why are you interested in gardening?
Oh, well, my wife was interested in gardening, and I don't know what this class is about, so I figured I'd just take it.
Okay. Oh, great. Now, this class is about using things that you've got in a different form in the garden and turning your garden into an interesting garden.
Okay. Oh my God, am I the only one in the class?
Oh, no, no, there are lots more. There are a lot in the waiting room at the moment.
Okay.
Todd is busy checking them out. No, we've got 28 booked, so you won't be the only one in
Oh,
class.
okay. Okay, cool, 'cause
Uh,
I really don't know what's going on, so.
no, that's okay.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Pat. Nice to have you in class. And Malika, nice to have you too. Oh, you're back, Pat, from one class to the next. That's
Yes, I
awesome.
am.
Ah, excellent. Lovely to have you back in class with me. And Malika is back. I've had Malika before. And Janet, nice to have you back in class. Yeah, so you went off and had some dinner, did you, between the classes, Pat?
No, I had dinner before the last class.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So now we're going out into our garden. We've spoken about some animals outside. Now we're actually going into the garden and using the things we've got in our house that we haven't a clue what to do with them and turn them into something interesting outside. So I'm hoping you're going to find some new ideas. Malika, why have you chosen to come into class? What do you hope to get out from the class?
Good morning. I'm
Good morning.
from India, so it's morning time for us.
Oh, me too. That's nice. I've also got morning. Lovely.
And I like to, use reuse things and not waste anything.
Well,
So
I'm
I thought
hoping you'll.
you can give us some the good ideas to how to, utilize and not waste anything.
I'm hoping that will work well for you during that. And
Thank you so much.
Janet, what view would you like to be part of it?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. Why would you like to be in class? What do you want to get from this class?
Just an idea of things that I can use to add to my yard
Good.
decor.
Great. Well, I hope you're going to come up with some
Best.
ideas. Ah, that'll be awesome. And Niti, is there, can you say why you would like to be in class and where you're from? Because you're new to my classes. Hi, Sue E, you're back. All right. Well, welcome everybody who is in class. There are a lot more that are booked, but we are still not sure with the bombers. So what is happening is that Todd is carefully just checking everybody as they come into class. But I'm going to start sharing with you so that we can begin with what we are doing. Just want to get it into a class. There we go. Right. Oops, too far. Right. What we're doing today is we are upcycling. What upcycling is, it is when you take something you already have and you use it for a completely different purpose. So it is reused in a far more creative way. And just looking at the picture there on your right-hand side, you've got a penny farthing. I used to have a whole lot of penny farthings in my garden in South Africa. And you've put pots on it and turned it into a pot plant holder. You can use barrels. You can use old basins that you use to wash the dog or do all sorts of things. Those can be turned into things as well. You've also got your different pots that you can turn into other things. And of course, your watering can is a lovely one to use. So let's begin. We can learn from each other. Ideally, we can see you and with your camera on, I can see your faces, I can see what you're thinking. But if you're a little shy to put your camera on, I quite understand, particularly if it's the first time you're in my class. But if you just communicate, that is okay as well. Afterwards, you can request a recording. We will give you the link for that. And if you join by live streaming, the best way to participate is to actually join. It's free and register for the classes. And Guest Setup's not paid to promote any product. So if I happen to mention something, it's purely something that I use. Right, so a little about me. My name is Sue. I live in Perth, Australia with my husband, Michael, who's also a guide. We moved here 3 years ago from South Africa to look after the grandchildren, and we love it here in Perth. It is really beautiful. We enjoy creating and making things, or I do, making puzzles and creating things. And I've got a great love of animals. That's why I do my animal series on Australian animals, or South African animals, birds in my garden, encounters with animals, because they are a very soft spot for me. And I've been an educator for 44 years, but here on Get Setup, I don't educate. I share ideas with my peers. And for me, it is awesome. So let's begin. Welcome to my garden. I've only got a small garden. In front of where that fence is a beautiful park on the other side. And to your left-hand side, there's one more house, and then there's a little forest or reserve, as they call it here in Australia. And so we are able to have a small garden with a diverse amount of things in it. We have wonderful birds coming into the garden. We have little animals coming into the garden. And I love to create my garden into little small pockets of different things. I do have to be a little careful because of the heat, but we have a really great divergence. And I use quite a few I used to use a lot of the things I talk about in South Africa. Here, I don't have too many old things to use because I left everything behind. But slowly but surely, I'm starting to use new things again in my garden. So welcome. Now, before we continue, we've got Todd is with me. He's busy screening everyone as they come in, and he's a great help. So if you have any problems, please just message him yourself in the chat box, and he'll be able to do things with you. So now let's continue. We use many different things in our garden, things that we would never have thought of normally putting in the garden. So we've got unusual things, chairs that are now a little rickety. What are we going to do with them? Baskets, plastic containers, tires, shoes, wood, old furniture, and old containers that we used to wash things in or store things in, all can now be used. So let's begin. We're going to start with some old chairs. How many of you have an old chair that sits there? You're just a little scared to sit on it. You don't want to break your hip and you think it might be a little wobbly. Turn it into a feature in the garden. All you do is paint it with some waterproof paint, making sure that underneath at the bottom where the legs stand, you give it a good coating there because that's where water can go. And then you can paint it different colors, and you can then put pot plants into the seat where you used to sit, and then let them flow down in different ways. And you can really create a beautiful feature in a certain part of your garden. It doesn't take up much space, and yet it can create something really, really special. How many of you have used a chair before? Anybody? Anybody thought of using a chair? No? I hope one of you are going to try it now because it really makes for a beautiful addition to your garden. Right, let's continue. Now, wood. So often you'll find a piece of wood if you're walking in the forest, or somebody cuts down a tree next door, or you cut down a tree. And what happens to the wood? It either lies there, or you throw it away, or you cut it up for firewood. You can use wood in the most creative ways. You can use it as a feature in your garden. You can use it as something different in your garden. Here are just a few ideas. The two in the center are actually my own garden, where I have placed strategic pieces of wood that I found in the forest. My husband and I we walk with the dogs every day, and we come home carrying pieces of wood that I have decided I think can work in the garden. And then you place them strategically and have your plants growing over them and under them. They just make for such a wonderful feeling in that garden. You can also choose big pieces that become a feature in your garden or on your patio. I have one that's not in these pictures, a large piece we brought home 2 days ago, which is going to stand on the patio so that the garden now becomes part of the patio as well. And so it is now encroaching very carefully and very subtly with plants and wood to go with it. And it's very, very easy to grow in the wood because growing in wood is simple. All you do with that growing is to chisel out. You can even use a flat knife because once you through that initial bark, which is not hard, you can then dig out just as a woodpecker would dig out. And then you dig out not too deep. If you want to grow bigger plants, then you would make it deep. If you only want a little, then you'd put succulents into it or plants that don't need a deep root base. And then you can place it in your garden at any place. You can use the old stump that is still in the ground and bring it to life using ferns. And now your stump has a new life attached to it. So there is so much that you can do with wood. Who uses wood in their garden or their homes? Any of you? Anybody use wood yet? No, nobody's using wood yet. Well, I hope that after this, you might consider looking at some wood. You can find it anywhere. Sometimes you have to buy it, but we prefer to go and look for our own pieces of wood in different places. And then you are able to bring them home, or if they're in the garden already, use them. Use them to the best of their ability. They are part of nature, and let them continue to be part of nature. Now, unusual items that you wouldn't think of using in the garden. The first one is an old basket. If you've got old baskets, maybe the handle is now not very strong and you can't really put shopping in it, then use the basket again. All you do is line the basket with some plastic, put a hole or two in it if you are going to put the soil directly into the basket. If you are going to put it in pots, I would still put 1 or 2 little holes just so that any excess water can drain out. Then you fill it with soil and add your plants, or just put pots into them. They make a lovely display going up your stairs or on your patio, and they really do brighten up and liven up the area and make it really special. You can also use your watering can, an old watering can that's maybe gone a bit rusty, just paint it up with some acrylic paint. And then what I do is I put some soil, then I take ivy and I take that nozzle off the end and I thread it up all the way to the top to where the soil is. And then I plant the ivy in the soil there and then continue with soil and have my plant at the top. Oops, it stopped screen sharing. Okay, that's all right. We'll we'll go back to screen sharing in a second. My computer decided it didn't want to screen share anymore. So what you do is you then have the ability to turn it at an angle and the ivy flows out like water. And it really looks so attractive when you do it like that. Now let's go back to screen sharing. Hopefully my computer will screen share. Yeah, there we go. It's decided it's cold and it's morning and it's not going to do it. Right. You can also use old colanders. Now, you've had colanders from when your kids were small and they're probably sitting at the back of a cupboard somewhere. Now, take them out, paint them bright colors, and then I put some thin mesh inside just so that the soil doesn't come out, and then just the water is able to go out, and you can hang them up or put them on the ground. They are awesome. Old shoes that you've had many years of working in them. You don't really want to part with them, but really I can't wear them anymore. Do something different. Allow yourself to put some plastic inside the shoe and then add your potted plant to it. And then it is really nice to do. What I do is when I've got them in pots, I take the pot out and I give it a good watering, let it drain and pop it back in the shoes again. But I've got others that I used to have out in the garden because they were already so old. They'd been through the rain many, many times and they survived for years out in the garden. You also have, this is actually a picture from one of the people who was in my class a few weeks ago. She redid her bathroom and she took all the toilets and put them outside the garage and down the driveway, and then filled them with all sorts of plants, which I thought was so ingenious. I did see it once in South Africa. There was a house which we called Louisville because it was full of all sorts of toilet pieces and things. But this I thought was so attractive that she put into there. So I think that you can use anything you want to be able to do what you are doing. So now, anybody got other ideas that you would like to tell me about, things you've used in your garden? Pat, what have you used in your garden? You used anything?
I made a dragonfly out of old fan blades.
Lovely. Yeah. That
Of
would
course,
look
then I had to go buy a wooden ball for the head, but I used the fan blades.
Well, at least you used some of it was old and some of it was new. But
And it turned out cute.
Have you still got it, Pat?
Yeah, but now it just hangs in my garage.
You can still take a photo and send
Greets
it
me
to
when
us.
I come home.
Well, take a photo and send it to me. I would love to see it. You can send it to Liz at Help It Get Set Up, and she will then
Okay.
pass it on to me, because this is the way I'm gathering things from all different people. Anybody else that's used something different or something to make something? Malika, Sue, Janice, Niti, any of you, Bill? Not yet. Well, I'm hoping you're going to do it and then send me some photos, because really that is sharing with others makes all the difference. Now let's try and go back. Okay, it's gone back, but now I've just got to get back to where I was now that it's playing silly bees. Right, how many of you, when you go and get new tires on your cars, leave your tires behind? Be honest. Hands up. How many of you leave your tires behind? You don't bring them home because you don't know what to do with them. Right. Yes, what we can do is so many things with your tires. I used to make tires and hang them on the wall. I don't do it here in Australia because of the size of the spiders, and I don't really want one of the really big ones coming out and visiting me from inside the tire. So I'm a little dubious of hanging them on the wall. You can also cut the wall of the tire. It's very soft. It's easy to cut. And either scallop it or make it sort of diamond shape or triangular shape. And then you pop it out. And then it becomes a very beautiful container for you to put your plants in. You can paint it with acrylic paint. And then what I do is I put a mesh underneath, a fine mesh, and with rocks, so that the rocks hold the mesh in place. And then I add the soil. And once I've done that, I can then plant my different plants, and I can move them around as to where I would like to put them. You can also plant all your vegetables in your tires. They work fantastically. When I was teaching, we used to make a tire tier and then plant potatoes. And when it had got to tires high, we would then, I cut a slit in each of the tires. We would pull the tire open, the soil would come out and the potatoes, and then that tire would be popped on the top again. And the soil that had come out, we would put on top as well. So we kept using that and going as we went. And the children loved this because we had roast potatoes, we had mashed potatoes, we did all sorts of things with the potatoes that they grew, and they thought this was really wonderful. So growing vegetables in tires is a wonderful way of doing things. You can have just one particular vegetable at a time in each of your tires, or you can, if you have just you or you and your partner, and you don't eat a lot of those vegetables, you just make a half a tire of one vegetable and half a tire of a different vegetable. And so then you can just keep, as you finish them, add some more seeds and continue to grow. I had a very similar to the one at the top pond in my garden in South Africa. What I did was I got a great big tire. I got a truck tire and put the truck tire in onto the. I chose a particular place, put plastic on it, and then added some stones. When I was really happy with it, I actually put cement into the bottom. But at first I tried it with some plastic to check it was what I wanted. And I put stones inside to hold it very carefully in there. And then every time we went out walking, I would collect stones. And we'd bring home 2, 3, 4, 5 stones at a time. And we slowly built up a collection of stones to put around, all the way around it. And once we put all the stones around it, you could actually build a little place at the back to put a little pump and use a solar heater, solar to make the pump go. I did try and put some goldfish in, but the owls and the crows and the cats ate the goldfish faster than I could bring them home. So I eventually ended up with just a little water feature with 1 or 2 little plants growing in it to keep it really looking pretty, and then put some decorations around it. It is a lovely way of having a pond when you've got a small garden, because there just isn't space to put a big pond in. But you can get the enjoyment of the water just running as it goes. You can use your tires in, when I was young, we used to have a rockery. And I used to climb to the top of the rockery and be queen of the castle up there. But instead of using rocks, which are heavy to carry and not so easy to find, you can use your tires to build the same creation by putting them in different formations, adding soil to them, obviously with your mesh underneath to keep the soil in. You can then create wonderful gardens, all sorts of colors. You can either have all your tires one color or your tires different colors, and then get a variety of flowers that of different colors. And you can have a real rainbow in your garden that's no wider than a tire. And so you can really create something beautiful using your tires. And also, if you haven't kept your tires, if you go back to the people where you get your tires, they're usually very happy to part with 3 or 4 at a time. They sometimes complain if you want more than that, but you can always go back a week or two later and ask for a few more. And so you build up your collection. You can also shred a tire. By shredding a tire, you keep part of the tire at the bottom in order to plant. You then take the tread away from the rim and you can bend it backwards. And then taking your rim, you can shred your rim and turn it into ribbons and pieces that you can fold in and out. Makes a very beautiful creation with some flowers at the bottom. Something very different with tires. Who's thought of using tires? Hi, Roz. Nice to have you in class. Lovely to see you. Right. Who's used a tire? Anybody? Anybody used tires yet?
I work at a childcare center and we've done tires. We just spray painted them. We didn't put anything inside of them to hold the dirt. We just had them kind of where we wanted them and then planted them.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, you can do so many children's activities with them. Tires make amazing children's activities. And you can really have wonderful things with your tires. Here are some ideas for using your tires outside. You can turn them into furniture. You can turn them into a chair and table where they can sit just using your tires. I used tires, mine were painted blue with a piece of glass over them. And then I put some plastic at the bottom. And then if it looked like rain, I would go outside, lift up the glass, toss in the cushions and put the glass back down. And my cushions stayed dry very, very easily. So it became a storage place as well as a very nice table to put things on. You can use an old tree stump as your base with a tire over it with material, or I would use more plastic material because of the rain, obviously. And then you just pull it in tight and you put stuffing inside. You can put some to make it nice and soft. And away you go. You've got mushroom stools out in your garden, which I think would be gorgeous in a child play center as well, to use your mushrooms like that. If you've got a little place at the bottom of the garden where you sometimes want to go, make it a table with your pallet and make your chairs out of the tires. It makes it very, very easily. In my classroom, I always had tires, and then I stuffed them with old pillows, any kind of stuffing I could get. People used to bring me their pillows. I'd wash them and then tumble dry them, make them clean, and then I would stuff them into the tire with pretty material over it. The children loved sitting on those. Dogs also like them as a bed because having them as a bed, they can't chew them. And that's a bonus if you've got a dog that likes to chew his bed. And of course, bigger tires you can turn into a swimming pool in summer and a sand pit in winter. Just remember, if you are using it as a swimming pool, to put a piece of wood over it that fits very snugly so that the children can't drown in it if you leave the water in there. But it's a lovely miniature swimming pool for the children, and also miniature sand pit for them to play in. Doesn't take up too much of your garden, and yet they can have fun if they come and visit. Right. Now, creative uses of things that we have. An old wheelbarrow that really has rusted, it's got holes in it. Going to toss it. Where do we toss it? No, don't toss it. Turn it into a flower bed and turn it into a feature in your garden. You can put your old wheelbarrow there, fill it with soil, put pretty small flowers in it. There's a gentleman who's done it just up our road, up our path. He's got it, and the children, they put all pretty flowers in, and they've put a bunny in it, and they've got a little note saying, "This is my garden, please look after it, and please smile at me when you pass." And they put little notes up in that little garden just outside the front door. And I think that is so awesome to have. You can use your old baking trays. All you do is you secure them to your pallet with a nut and bolt, and then make a couple of holes at the bottom to let the excess water out, and you can plant in those. They're really attractive to hang on the wall. If you had a bird and you've got the bird cage, use the bird cage. Don't leave it in the garage or up in the attic. Fill it with some sand at the bottom. And if it's not thick, if there's the bottom hasn't got an area that you can put soil into, just take some balsa wood, which bends nicely, and put that in around and paint it so that it matches with the bird cage. And then add your soil, add your flowers, and let them drip and drain out of the bird cage. A nice new use for your bird cage. You can also use old basins, put it into the ground, put some flowers in it, hang some of the things on the wall nearby, and turn it into a feature rather than things that are just lying around. My stepdaughter does not wear shoes. She only wears sneakers, even for her wedding. So she's taken her white sneakers and put some plastic inside it, put some pot plants in it, having told her about it, and they are now a feature in her lounge. And so there, every time they go into the sitting room, there are these two shoes looking at you with their different things in them. And you can also plant your herbs very nicely in a pallet, because the pallets have those pieces running across. You can then plant small herbs in there, because remember, the smaller the area, the smaller the roots, the plants stay small. I have two basil. One I've kept small in its little pot. One I planted in a big pot that's now nearly 2 meters high. So it depends on if you want something small to just go and snip off when you're cooking, to have fresh herbs when you're cooking is awesome. And the way to grow it is so easily. My husband's got a new one coming out about how to grow your herbs and the benefits of herbs. They've got so many nutritional benefits you cannot believe. So, any questions about these particular ones? For painting the tires, I use acrylic paint. So you use acrylic paint on them. I found that was the best. But you can also ask at your paint store, they might tell you another one. But I never had a problem with acrylic paint. It worked beautifully and lasted a long time. Any other questions? Pleasure, Niti. Right. Anything else anybody wants to know? We're all very quiet today. Wow. All right, let's have a look. Now, other unique uses. If you have got what's planted in the basin, I'm not quite sure. It's one of the creepers. It's a purple creeper. I can't think of its name at the moment. I'll try and think of it. If not, I'll put it into the notes that I send out afterwards, because it's a very beautiful purple creeper. It could be clematis. I'll double check on that for you with pleasure. But it really does grow so nicely in there. You could be right, Janet. I think, but I'll double check. I don't want to say it is and then it's not. All right. Now, if you've got a top of a wall, which has got those holy bricks at the top, you can plant succulents in it. Not only the round succulents, I've got succulents that hang. They're hanging succulents. And all I've done is put pieces of it in to each of them. And now I've got a waterfall hanging down. And it really does look so nice. Somebody was in our neighborhood was chucking it out. I have no idea what it's called, but I took it and put it in and it's growing so well. And it's now covering my wall. My wall no longer looks so bare as it goes down. You can also use old suitcases, old crates, anything that you've got that you don't want to part with. Just line them with plastic and they work very, very well indeed. Pieces of furniture that are sentimental, paint them bright colors, put them outside, and have plants coming out of the drawers. If you've got pots and bowls, things that you don't know what to do with, but you don't want to part with them, put them on a ladder, put some planks on the ladder, and plant them filled with beautiful little plants. If they don't have a hole at the bottom, just don't overwater them, because I've lost many to drowning the poor plants. So just watch your plants if they don't have a hole at the bottom. But you can make a really creative feature using your old ladder and all these beautiful basins and bowls that you had that maybe your mom gave you or you've had since you've got first married 50 years ago. Now you've still got those. You don't really want to part with it. The family don't seem that interested in them, but you've got the sentimental value. Use them, decorate them, put them into different things, and they now become a completely different entity. You can also use paint pots again. Paint them a color that you like, put some rickrack on them, anything to give them a texture, and then put a thick rope through them. You wouldn't pick it by the rope, but it gives it the look of having this rope, and it just makes it look so attractive. And then your old spade and your old fork that you had. I actually, for my wedding to Michael, planted a fork we had a beautiful tiny garden. It was a thatch cottage and it was called Penny Farthing Cottage. And for the wedding, we had a very small wedding, just the family, because we've got a lot of kids. He's got 9, I've got 2, and with their partners and the kids, it was big enough. We each had, I think, one friend at our little wedding. And what I did outside was I put a fork in the garden. I put a watering can, which I then arranged flowers in the watering can, and I attached a little sign that said wedding. And it looked so attractive as people came in. And that was just something different, using other things to turn them into something different. So here what they've done is they've hung the fork and the spade on the wall, and they have attached pots to the fork and the spade. Just using strong wire and attaching it tight, and they have been able to do it. And then you put your plants growing out of those pots, and it makes a really pretty feature on your wall. I use the thick plastic that you can get at the hardware store. It's the one that they actually put down when they are building. It's a thick waterproof plastic that that you can get. You get it in a roll. And that's what I use at the base. The thinner plastics tear too easily, and then things just fall through. So I always use the thick waterproof plastic from the hardware store. Hope that helps you, Janice. All right. Now, shutters, old shutters that you've got. You've now replaced your shutters. What do you do with the old shutters? You can paint it up. And when we garden, we buy seeds and then they go into a drawer. And then we see some other seeds and we buy them. When we bring them, we go, oh, we've already got those in the drawer. So now I haven't got a shutter. I've got an old picture frame. I've put some string across it, and I have pegged up all the different peg packets. And onto that, I can see straight away which ones we've got. And as they finish, they go on the shopping list, and we then go and buy more of them, because we found we were duplicating very often. And so this way, it prevents you from duplicating. It's also a very attractive thing on the wall to see all these different brightly colored plants that you are going to or have planted. Any queries or questions on what we've done so far? Anybody got a question? We've had some in the chat box. Everybody's quiet. All right, let's continue. Now, oops, okay, sorry. I went into the wrong one. I've got two going here at the moment. There we go. All right, now, containers. All your containers can be used, even if they're cracked and broken. You can use old drawers. Just attach them to your fence and put flowers in them. They look stunning. Paint them with a waterproof paint so that they do last longer. You don't want them to rot, particularly the bottoms. But the rest, you can paint bright colors and turn them into something special. Wooden drawers, even the drawers from your cabinets, from the filing cabinets that you've got, they also make wonderful planters for plants. Barrels that you had, old buckets that you've got. An olive, the white one is an olive picker, and it's full of beautiful plants and beautiful flowers. Your old watering can is always a standard favorite. Oops, sorry, I clicked on the wrong piece. That's what I wanted to do. Pots. Now, pots you can use in two different ways. If the pot is whole, you can use it upright, you can use it lying down. If it's broken, you take the broken pieces and you create terraces within your pot, and it becomes almost like a fairy garden. So you have some plants growing over here and some growing out of this part of the broken piece, and another one growing out of another part of a broken piece. And you can really create it into something really special. I think it's tomorrow I do fairy and gnome gardens, and you see a lot of broken pots being used in very creative ways. And then, of course, your tins that we are so quick to throw out. We throw them away without even thinking about it. You can turn them into beautiful planters all around your garden. Something bright, something pretty, a bit of color. Even in winter when there's nothing growing in them, there's that piece of color that's standing out there in the garden that just gives you that fun feeling of something colorful. You can also put Mod Podge pictures onto them, hang them up one above the other so that they just touch, and then you can have a wind chime as well. So there are so many ways you can utilize. I've got a tin here. This is a tin. I've kept the back open so you can see. And all I've done is taken bottle tops and I've carefully put the bottle tops on. I do 3 or 4 at a time, let them dry, 3 or 4 at a time, let them dry. Because remember, this is round. And so it's quite difficult to get them to stay on and not slide off while you are busy doing it. So you lie it on its side and you stick them on, let it dry. When they are totally dry, you can then move it to the next position, put some more on it. But you can do it with all color lids, all types of lids. You can make some really beautiful pots just using the milk bottle tops, the cool drink bottle tops. All of those go to make really creative pots and very colorful pots that you can do. So I really urge you to use containers that you didn't think we have a use for before. You now have a really good use for them. All sorts of containers, your old teapots, cups, saucers, put plants in them. Just don't overwater them. They make beautiful containers. And so you enjoy seeing them instead of them being wrapped up and put away in the attic or wrapped up and boxed in the garage. Use them. Have the enjoyment. They enjoy being used too. They feel useful if you put other things into them. So just use your imagination and think, what can I put in here? And you can come up, you can even take it with you to the nursery if you're not sure, and go and see what would look nice inside this cup, or what would look nice inside this pot. And then you are able to choose really interesting plants that would match what you are doing. For people who've got small gardens, hanging gardens are wonderful. As you saw at the beginning, I have a lot of hanging gardens around my garden because I only have a small garden and I hate a blank wall. So does my husband. So away we go. He's the gardener. He's got the green fingers. I've got the ideas. So we put them together and we end up with something really special. But what you can do is you can just cut a hole in your bottles. You can even use milk bottles. You cut a hole in and then you can plant inside, and then you use the handles to hang them by, or and if it gets too full of water, you can always undo the end and tip out excess water that might have gathered at the bottom. So it's a very useful way of doing it. You can also take the top of a bottle, the top where you've got the lid, and you can put soil in there and plant your herbs and just attach them to a piece of wood on the wall. And then if it's got too much water, or when you're watering, you can undo the lid, not totally take it off, just loosen it. Excess water will go out, and then you can just tighten it again. Very, very useful way of growing plants. You can put them on the wall, you can put them all over the place using old cool drink containers. You can also use your cool drink containers in another way. I've just got a peg on here to hold it flat because it's not quite rounded yet. I have cut the bottom off that same container. So there was my top. I've now cut the bottom part off it, and I've left a piece at the back. Let me just stop sharing for a second. I've left a piece at the back, a tall piece. Let me just go to speaker view. I've left a tall piece here. And now this tall piece I'm folding back, and at the moment I've got a peg on it to get it used to being folded back. That now becomes what hangs the plant. The plant hangs on that. And if you're a bit worried, you can hang it over and then put a nut and bolt through to make sure that it stays. But it makes a very interesting hanger. And then you can plant your plants in it, and they can trail, they can do as they please in that. So it makes it very much easier for you to use. Right. So that is another use that you have for your plastic. You can certainly use it in many, many different ways to get your plants to grow. You can attach it to a pallet, you can attach it to the wall, you can attach it to just some bars you've put across. You can use your bottles that you had the detergent in. Detergent bottles are wonderful for putting your things in. Just give them a good wash and then cut your shape that you want. They're easy to cut with a pair of scissors. Put your soil in and plant your plants. They make such fun containers. If you don't want them to be see-through, what you can do is paint them any color you want. I don't use a paintbrush because a paintbrush makes streaks. I use a sponge and I sponge on it. And then sometimes it gives you a texture, but sometimes you can still see through. Then I just sponge again where you can see through. And it really does look so special when it is complete. Any questions? Malika, you want to ask a question? No? Okay. Right. Now, these are some ingenious ideas that you can use. Firstly, if you want to build a retaining wall, you can just use cool drink bottles filled with sand. They're stronger than any brick wall you would ever come across. They are so firm and so heavy. So that is a wonderful way of building a retaining wall, and you can then put cement on it if you want, or leave it as a feature as it is. You can use your old galoshes and put plants in them around the place. They look stunning. You can also, if you are wanting to use your hose in different places, if you're using your hose in one place and you've only got one nozzle, this can be used instead. You attach your hose to a bottle. If you put a whole lot of holes near the bottom, it gives you a single jet spray coming out. If you want it to be a gentle spray, you make holes along the top of the bottle, and once the bottle is full, it sprays very gently out all over the place. You can also turn your bottle top over a pot to make it into like a little terrarium when you are growing. When you are growing the plants, what you do is you can just put it over the top of the pot, and then it takes the lid off so that there is some air coming in. There's only a small amount of air, so it keeps it warm inside. And when the plant has now germinated and is starting to look good, you can then take away your bottle top and your plant will grow happily. You can also use, let me just go to here. Right. You can also use your bottle tops to make coasters for outside. All I've done is stuck the bottle tops together. They're milk bottle tops. And I used a bit of plastic that I had. I had a cutting board where you got 5 cutting boards for $1, and I only wanted 1 cutting board. So the others have been used for all sorts of other reasons. I've cut the shape that I want and I stick it onto there. And then these can stand outside. They're never going to rot. They're plastic. So you can then leave them outside, rain or shine or snow, and they are perfectly safe out there. You can use them then as your coasters. You can make bigger ones for your plates, anything that you would like. So these are very useful as a choice. Another very interesting one is to take a 2-liter milk bottle, and where you've got your handle, you cut out a piece the right size. You make a marking on it, and you cut out a piece of it, and then you've got a scoop. It's not the strongest scoop in the world. If your soil is loose, it's very good to use. It's non-breakable. It doesn't rust. It doesn't rust. And if I'm sowing seeds, it's wonderful. It's nice and light to just sow your seeds that you want to sow into a particular place. So it's a very useful little trowel spade made out of a 2-liter milk bottle. Very interesting way of doing. And the last one that we're going to make, this, I get so tired of my secateurs getting rusty because I use them, I put them down and I leave them where if it rains at a certain time, it'll reach the table where I put them. And then I end up with rusty secateurs. So I have made, this is a miniature. I use the 2-liter bottles. You use a big part of the first bottle and a small part of the other bottle. And then all you do is you go and buy a zip if you haven't got one, and you stick the zip where you've joined, where you want to join. The bottom, one part of the zip goes on one container, one part of the zip goes on the other container. Then your bottle can close. As I say, I've used a top of one and a lot of the other for my secateurs so that it just opens the top and then you just zip it up and your secateurs are safe from the rain. It has saved me umpteen pairs of secateurs. Now, I don't go through them sort of every couple of months anymore because I just pop them in there and leave them where I was going to leave them anyway. So this is a lovely container for putting anything in. You can put pencils in it. You can put anything you like. But This I use for my garden tools so that they don't get ruined. Right, let's start. Oh, let me just go to ordinary view. Right, anybody got anything they would like to ask? Any questions? No? Okay, so, well, thank you very much, everyone, for being part of this class today. I hope that you've gone away with just one thing even that you would really like to try. Something that you've seen or something that you've got. And so that you are, thank you, Janice, things that you see that I think, I remember from class, I could do this. Or, oh, I wonder if this would work. Let me give it a try. And in that way, you get yourself starting to think of how to use the different things that you have around your home. So many things can be used. So I would like if you've got any pictures of something you've made or done, please send them to Liz at getsetup.io. She will be able to send them on to me because I'm making a gallery of things that people have made and done. And hopefully that will be shared on my page shortly. There are some related classes, Birds in My Garden and Fairy and Gnome Gardens. There are other classes like Boredom Busters for seniors and Trivia Quiz. This week's trivia quiz is Where Do I Come From? And that is types of food, places, clothes, all sorts of things. You've got to guess the country that they come from. So that should be a lot of fun. That's on Thursday. Right. I will be sending you some class notes with some of the ideas that I did have in class. I will send you some other classes you may be interested in. They are random. We get 10 choices and sometimes they don't fit with what we've just done, but I try and choose as best I can. And please feel free to fill in the feedback. Tell us new things you'd like. Tell us how you'd like things to change, what you would like that would be different, so that we can come up with new classes that would suit you. So please feel free to share those. And nowadays, we've got a new feature where you can invite a friend when you book. And it's nice to have a friend in class that can do something with you. You can talk afterwards or discuss how you would maybe do something together. And lastly, if you'd like to host an interest group, please let us know. We're only too happy to have you co-host with somebody. If you've got suggestions for new classes, all of these go to help at Get Set Up, including requests for hearing the session again if there's something that you've missed. Well, thank you, everyone. It was great to have you in class. I hope to maybe see you in some of my other classes. Thank you, Todd, for checking on everyone and getting everybody safely into class. Very much appreciated. Have a great day, everyone. Great evening. Except we've got some people from India, so enjoy your day just like I'm going to enjoy as well. Thanks for being in class. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
It's a pleasure. I hope you got something from it, Bill. I hope something came up for you amongst those things. Hi, Sue. Did you find something you liked? Great.
Yes.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Bye.